What's up guys, Tuber Tutorials here, and I'm just going to bring you guys a simple photography tip. And this tip is going to be about, how to brighten up your images by just using your exposure compensation. So let's say that you set a certain ISO and you set a certain aperture and you want to stay at that ISO and the aperture, but when you take your picture, it's still it's good exposure, but it's not bright enough. You want it to be more brighter, but you don't want to mess with your ISO or your aperture. You want to leave it as it is. So I'm going to show you how to do that. It's just by simply increasing your exposure compensation, sorry. So as you can see, I'm doing this in my little office here. Y'all can see my desk, my snowball mic and my Mac over there. So I'm just basically doing this in my room. You don't need to do this at any special spot just to test it. You can do it anywhere. And my light source is my room light, and this little lamp, you can't see, but that lamp right there, that is on. So I have a good amount of light, but I'm using my 50mm, and my settings that I want to stay at, if you guys can see that, I want to stay at ISO 800 with an aperture of 2.5, and that's giving me a shutter speed of 125th to like 200. So I want it to stay at that. Now my exposure compensation, which is right there, is right in the middle, so I'm perfectly exposed. I'm in aperture priority mode. So let's take the shot with these settings and see what we get. Let me show you the settings on the big screen so you guys can see it. That's the settings right there. It might be a little glare, but that's the settings right there. So let's take a shot with these settings and let's see what we get. Now if you look at it, it's good, but it's dark. You can see around the edges of the left hand side, it's pretty dark around there. The other side is pretty dark. So I want this image to be a little bit more brighter. Now the obvious thing to do is to decrease the aperture, because the smaller the f-stop, the more light you let in. But the smaller the f-stop, the more shallower my depth of field would be, and I want most of the book to be in focus. I want most of the book to be in focus because I want to show this book to the client, show this book to my audience, say that, okay, if you want a photo book from me, this is what you get. So I want most of it to be in focus. So I want to stay at 2.5, but I want to brighten up the images some more. So what I do, I'm using a Canon here. What you do, you half press on the shutter button and then use your back dial, and that will increase your exposure compensation. You can see as I move the back dial, make sure your shutter is half pressed. As I move the back dial, my exposure compensation is going up. So I'm going to increase it to a full stop. So now it's at 1. It's all the way up to 1. That's a full stop. Now let's take a pic with that. Again, I'm still at my same settings, still aperture 2.5, ISO 800. But notice my shutter speed now is moving from 80th to 100. That's because the more you increase your exposure compensation, the slower your shutter speed gets. So let's take a shot with that. Again, focus, that's my phone, focus right there, and boom. Now as you can see, the difference between this and the other one, it's more brighter. You get more light around that edge, and you get more light at the other side where the side where it says baby girl, you got more light in there. Now we can also take that f-stop up some more, but remember you have to keep, not that f-stop, the exposure compensation, but you have to keep in mind your shutter speed is decreasing every time you do that. So let me take that up to, not all the way to 2, that's going to be too overexposed. Let's take that up to about, scan focus on the screen. Let's take it up to about not a whole stop, like a stop up from 1. Let's just take it up right there. Now let's take a shot. That should be just fine, and boom, there we go. Now that's what I'm looking for. You can see the difference between the 3 of them. The first one is dark, the second one is okay, and the other one is the perfect one. You can see if you look on your camera, if your camera gives you the information, it tells you my exposure compensation is at +1 1/3. The second one was +1, and the first one, it was just right in the middle. So that's basically a simple way of brightening your images without messing with your ISO or your aperture. Now this is only if you want to keep your ISO and aperture a set place. You don't want to move it, you want to keep it there, but you want to brighten up the image. All you gotta do is just increase that exposure compensation. And the opposite goes, if you want to darken the image, you decrease the exposure compensation and you get a darker image. So this video is geared towards, beginners. If you want to know how to use your exposure compensation, that's the first basic way to do it. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you learned something, be sure to comment below, subscribe below, and I'll see you guys next time. Tuber Tutorials, peace out. As always, guys, be sure to stop by my YouTube channel, Tuber Tutorials. We do tutorials, reviews, unboxings, photography tips and techs, Photoshop tutorials, library tutorials, everything that you need to know to improve your graphic and photography skills. Be sure to check it out. Subscribe if you're a new viewer, comment on the videos, watch the videos, also like the videos, and as always, have a nice day. Peace out.